Hazaribagh, once the beating heart of Dakar's leather trade. It was this labyrinth of blue chrome runoff and just chemical haze that clawed at your lungs. You can really taste it in the air here. There's just this ever-present, constant flavor. And the community in inner Dakar had enough.
নোংরা পরিবেশে চলে, ভালো পরিবেশে চলতে পারে না।
And the chemical tanning was ordered to move all the way back in 2001. But it took 16 years of stalled progress and promises that ended with one brutal gesture. They cut the water, they sliced the faucets, killed the lights, barricaded in the hide trucks, and in one order, 72 hours, they forcibly moved 154 tanneries out of the city. Gone. Off to what is now the new industrial leather park that you could see in my previous video. But nowadays, Hazaribagh is still this maze of leather work. Anything except the chemical processing is more or less still allowed here. It's this walled-in maze of concrete canyons where the leather industry's sort of dirty leftovers just keep grinding away.
Crazy.
Yes, the chemical processes may be gone, but everything else pretty much goes down here. And most of it is the low-end manual labor. They boil glue, they make gloves and belts, they script cow tails for paintbrushes, they dry leather under the sun, they paint it, they soften it, you name it. It all goes down in this one crazy area. If you're traveling through Asia, like I do constantly, Bangladesh, India, Laos, wherever, you're basically living in a cash economy. And Revolut card is so useful in these situations. I can pull out cash whenever I need it, and Revolut covers the usual foreign exchange fees up to a monthly limit. So I'm not getting completely rinsed by my bank every time I hit the ATM. Local ATMs might charge their own fees, but at least I know Revolut's not adding their own on top. Anyone who's done trips like this knows that those street exchange booths and those airport kiosks just absolutely love to rinse you. Guys, these rates are so brutal. Those big bright signs displaying absolutely terrible rates. You see, Revolut's rates are much more competitive and they are so much easier to deal with. They can be up to 10 times cheaper than what the big banks or those dodgy kiosks are going to push on you. So with Revolut, I just skip the booths completely. I convert to one of over 30 currencies in the app and I just pull out cash straight from an ATM when I need it. I used to land and spend just hours hunting for a local SIM card, and now I just grab a Revolut eSIM before I even board the plane, so that the second I hit the ground, I'm already online. It works in more than 100 different countries, setup is dead easy, and I can message my driver straight away instead of praying for some kind of airport Wi-Fi that never actually works. Stuff goes wrong when you travel. Cards get skimmed, details get stolen, and ATMs just straight up eat your cards for no reason. I can't count the number of times that I've lost cards or details on trips. With Revolut, if anything shady happens at all, I just freeze my card in the app. I order a new one and I just keep on moving. And if I have to buy something online, a bus ticket, a train ticket, something like that, and I don't fully trust the site, I use a single-use virtual card, I pay once, and the card is dead. So even if somebody tries to grab my details, there's nothing worth stealing. Anyway, guys, link is in the description below. Remember, they'll give you 40 Aussie bucks or 20 US dollars or 20 pounds, wherever you are, when you sign up and you use the card just once. I can't imagine travel without it, and helping them out is by far the best way to help the show. Check it out. The first thing that hits you is just the piles of scrap hides. Wow. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. Okay, so like just even entering this slum, essentially you see just these big piles of rejected skins. Maybe it wasn't quite of the right standard, or was damaged, whatever. It's not going to get turned into leather. And so it's turned into all kinds of other stuff. Sujo's telling me like glue, like soles for shoes. They're heaped everywhere. They're under dirty tarps. Oh, the smell in here is crazy. Oh. Alright, this is just like a whole storage room of just skins. It's wild just seeing raw skins like they're still wet. They're rotting and busted up, and these storerooms just crawling with maggots. But it's just crazy seeing like hair on and just piles and piles of this stuff. Crazy. And the courtyards that they have here can just be filled with bones. Guys, there's so many cow bones on that edge of that river behind that corrugated iron that they've got these sort of like bamboo supports running over the other side to try and hold it in place. Otherwise, that whole river is going to get blocked up with cow jaw bones. And once you get past that, you hit the ocean of glue trays. Just endless baking trays packed with greasy, melted down hide, fats and collagens stretching out as far as you can see. Some of these you can start to see like a skin form on them. Sujo, what is this? Is this glue?
So various purpose they use this kind of glue.
How do they make it?
They burn all those leather like ears, horns, head, skin, tails, and those are actually fats.
So basically this just giant tub is burning away. In this instance,
Skin, dry skin.
Oh, this is skin?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was plastic.
See the leather.
Wow, so it's like rejected leather.
Yeah.
And they're burning it.
Yeah.
Glue pit workers head carry the cow and goat offcuts. They're still hairy, half-rotted, ligaments attached, and they're tossed into these giant drums. Okay guys, here you can see the kind of like first step in the process, which is just boiling down, rendering down just huge amounts of skin and fat. So below us is just offcuts of leather and hair, and that's actually what's going to be used as the fuel. So the dried leftovers themselves also double as the fuel. They keep feeding the flames that to melt down the next load of scrap. It is rough, it is smoky, it's a little bit medieval, but that's how the glue trade in Hazaribagh goes down. And they're going to keep boiling this until it turns into this thick, syrupy, brown substance. The gluey fat that is kind of remaining is just sort of dribbling out the bottom. I thought it would just like tap out. I don't know why. It's glue, I guess. You can find the fuel for these drums everywhere. There's walls lined with off-cut leather bags. Here, like obviously right next to these big burning vats is just pile after pile, just sack after sack of leather. Some of it is kind of like post-factory. So we have like rejected leather being used as the fuel, or even just the scraps of skin that like raw hide that oddly enough doesn't smell. You'd think like burning hair would smell horrible, but I don't know, maybe I'm just used to it. There's loose skin and hair being laid out to dry like dirty laundry in the sun. And man, it is boiling away pretty furiously, guys. Like there's an absolute ton of this sort of boiled fats that are getting turned into the glue. But when the brew finally gets thick enough, they kill the flames and they run it through this rough mesh to yank out any hair or gristle and ash that's left. So this whole vat is the stuff? And then they're gonna pour it, still hissing, into these low metal trays, 2 to 3 centimeters deep. It's kind of crazy just how thin it is when it comes out of the sort of boiler. It sort of just looks like gravy. The pans sit there in these dusty courtyards under the sun, plenty of air. They get covered up in between rain spurts. And as it cools, the glue is going to skin over from the edges. And it slowly starts to lock up and look kind of solid. How many days does it dry for?
কতদিন লাগে এটা শুকাতে? Minimum 8 to 10 days for dry.
Wow, and then on the racks?
আর rack কতদিন লাগে rack? Oh, 2 or 3 days.
2 or 3 more days. And once the slab cures, it's kind of this tacky, rubberized texture. So these are the kind of like finished glue sheets that they're like extracting from the drying pans. And at this point, they're almost rubbery in texture. It's a solid. There's nothing liquidy about that. They crack them open by hand into these chunky bricks, picture like an oversized chocolate bar, and literally nothing goes to waste here. So the tail hair is being saved. That's the one sort of offcut that is used for something else. Shoe brushes, hair brushes, makeup brushes, paint brushes, toothbrushes, you name it. Not the toothbrush, I made that better. All right. We come across elderly women hunched over piles of cow tails, peeling the hair away from the gristle. She tells us she sells these tails to factories making all kinds of brushes.
They made shoe brush, and then paint brush, and then makeup brush, and then toothbrush too. দাঁতের brush? সত্যি? Okay. This is true. They are making toothbrush too.
No. She's
Yeah.
f***ing with you?
No, this is true.
I thought she was doing the same joke that I did.
I don't know. No, she said it's true.
Hey guys, this lady's got to be f***ing with us, right? I'm telling you, there's 0% chance that's real. Next time you're picking up one of those organic special toothbrushes from the convenience store, just be a little bit careful. It's kind of gnarly, guys, because as much as a lot of this meat is salted, like a lot of these tails and just like offcuts, I don't think they really are. It's just sort of rotting away.
And it's much more than just glue. Authorities still let most of the leather finishing slide here. So as long as it's not chemical, you can probably find it in these slums. And so once you slip down these alleyways, you start to hear it, these huge softening houses. Saffron hides just thudding away inside big rumbling drums.
Hi guys, so here behind me is basically one of those like rehydration drums. It is essentially, well, it is exactly what it says on the tin. It is a giant wooden drum with a huge electric motor right next to it. And it is just rotating raw hides, dried hides, over and over and over. Hopefully, voiceover Andrew is gonna save me right now with a few more technical details.
They're unloaded and then stretched across these big domed steel knives of sorts.
See if I can feel any difference. I don't want to like screw it up for these guys. But yeah, I don't feel that being any softer.
And it's only when these fibers are fully relaxed that a tower of leather is lashed onto a bicycle.
And that is, I don't know, very Bangladeshian, at least to me. It seems like this is the last country on earth where everything is still transported by some sort of bicycle, rickshaw type contraption.
Stamped leather here just disappears under buzzing sewing machines, and they re-emerge as finished gloves almost instantly. It's kind of staggering the sheer amount of gloves and product that can be knocked out by just one bloke.
Alright, so we bust into this room and these guys, they just have like an absolute ton of processed skins around us, like tenderized leather, soft leather, and they're turning it into gloves. Just two guys, warehouse full of leather, and what they're cranking out are these still wet, really wet gloves, leather gloves.
The tan skins that come here are still rough and botchy, and they need some kind of cosmetic fix. So they get slapped onto these flat boards and hit with synthetic pigment from these rickety old spray guns. The solvent and haze fills the air. You can see it at times, it's so thick, and there's no masks or gloves, nothing like that.
Guys, I don't know if you can see that. Like every now and then you see like the puff of spray paint that is like coming off from just everywhere around me, and you can really taste it in the air here. There's just this like this ever-present, constant flavor of spray paint. Whatever tanning chemicals and whatever paints they're putting onto those skins. I mean, it can't be good for you. There's no respirators, there's no nothing. But yeah, it's just part of the deal here.
The workers just rip through browns and blacks and deep ox blood reds. And once it's been colored, the hides are then dragged outside yet again and stretched over long wooden frames and nailed down.
Oh, the hammering. Man, maybe like the wildest thing to me is just every aspect of this slum has just something different. These guys are just staking out the leather, stretching it out, and so you just have that incredible sound of just teams and teams of workers hammering away. Guys, hopefully you can see the insane speed with which these guys are hammering away. He's literally picking up the next nail whilst he's hammering the current one that's sort of in place. It is just, these guys have done this 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. They have mastered the art of hammering. One thing that's cool is that they seem to sort of not want to lose rhythm. So occasionally you'll see them just hammering away at just the wood to kind of keep the rhythm going. And again, of course, no hammers, just kind of chunks of steel.
It is loud, it's toxic, it is low margin, but it keeps hundreds of these small scale finishers alive, doing those last mile dirty jobs that the newer Savar estate wants absolutely nothing to do with. And the drying here just never seems to stop. Between every rainburst, you'll see hides sprawled out everywhere, on fence posts, draped over bushes, tossed across cracked pavement.
Skins just drying everywhere. It's like every inch of unused land in this kind of urban area is used for some part of the leather process, the leather industry. And it's often the scraps. It's making money where there is still room to make money. Just anything that you can eat by with. There's this kind of just like eeriness to this place. It's largely quiet. None of the workers are really talking, and you just have just this wind whistling through this kind of factory graveyard that used to be this vibrant leather tanning industry, and that is now just the scraps, the fish food, the glue, what's left, what's legally left, what's allowed to be done in this kind of like residential area of Bangladesh. There's just skin everywhere.
And once they are finally bone dry, they get tossed on carts and hurried down alleyways to the workshops that ring the slum, the sort of factory area.
Okay, so from downstairs, what looks just like some sort of leather market district, where there's tuk-tuks and carts hauling leather around, and you see many leather shops upstairs. They have these factories just filling the rooms, pretty low ceilings if I'm honest, and just the entire shoe can be made upstairs.
Some of these factories are literally just tiny flats where the living room's been kind of gutted and the whole thing's been turned into a micro factory. Leather's hanging from the ceilings, sewing machines are tucked away in the corner, and guys are just cutting away at hand-drawn patterns. And once you wander these back streets long enough, you realise that every doorway, every building just hides leather factories in disguise.
Hey guys, so I kind of feel like I invaded somebody's living room or bedroom. We've got everything here. We've got obviously like rolls of thread on the wall. There's sewing machines in the corners. There's a big room full of sewing machines back here. There's apparently their lunch break.
They're sort of just the residential manufacturing hub. Most of the shops here seem to pretty much be able to do it all. We come across this custom jacket place tucked away in an apartment, and the same crew's churning out wallets in between orders just to keep things going.
Oh, is this like all custom jackets?
Yeah.
What?
Can you see the model?
Bro, no way. So you can have a look at this giant wall full of leather jackets. Apparently, these guys can just make anything to size. I'm definitely getting a leather jacket made before I leave country. I will never again wear it. That is for damn sure, because I live in hot as hell Vietnam. But I guess if these guys are wearing them in Bangladesh, then I don't know, maybe there's some kind of special treatment that makes it a little bit cooler. Anyway, kind of wild to me. How much does a leather jacket cost?
So it starts from 8,000 BDT, and it depends on quality, like maybe it could be 30,000.
Got it. But it's like custom made for a specific person. Oh, this is just like a leather jacket warehouse. And who knew? This isn't actually that bad. These guys are just starting up. The distinct vibe right now is a very glue-like smell that is running through the air. I'm still in this guy's glue for a second. This is very much the same kind of glue that is made from the sort of the hides that we saw earlier today. It is a Xuan adhesive for leather, and I've heard that if you give it a good whiff, yeah, you can get like right away you kind of feel like a little bit, it's like smelling salts or something like that. You definitely get a bit of a zing, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna go too hard. I got the rest of the shoot to finish, but yeah. All right, one more. Yeah.
But the main practice here is shoes. Leather shoes are everywhere.
Just an absolute ton of boots and sandals, sometimes wallets, you name it. It's just absolutely everywhere. How much is a pair of shoes here, out of interest? Like, how much is a pair of boots? Like...
Start from 1,000 taka. That means $8.
$8 for a pair of export shoes. Yeah. Guys, that's a deal. That's like better than Amazon, right? Alright guys, so we're gonna ascend the catacombs of this kind of like crazy leather manufacturing slum, my impression is that this building is just kind of like a bunch of different leather factories on each of the different floors. Your guess is as good as mine as to what we find next. Don't worry, they're welcoming me in. Bangladeshis are maybe the nicest people on earth. Hi guys, we sort of entered another one of these rooms. It's a little bit larger and they're just churning out a pretty huge amount of shoes in a relatively small room. Again, we have like 2 sewing machines, a couple of gluing stations, and it's pretty remarkable just the sheer volume that you're able to crank out in just a small room like this. It's just part of this just giant leather suburb that there is here. In ways, it kind of reminds me of Hazaribagh in India, but I've got to admit, I think this is kind of like maybe a little bit nicer, at least out on the streets.
It's room upon room filled with maybe 10 to 15 artisans, men and women, just moving like cogs in this human machine. It starts by chalking. They're sketching out the pattern by hand across hides, just one after another. Every piece of the shoe is first drawn out. Then that pattern is cut by hand. Entire tables just lined with people with scissors, carefully trimming away. On the 3rd station, a mallet rains down, just tapping away each eyelet individually. It is unbelievably manual.
Guys, I bet wherever you are putting on your loafers around this world, I bet you did not think that each of the individual holes that was used to sew that shoe together was individually hammered out by this young guy here in Bangladesh. I mean, who would have thought? I've seen a lot of leather work in my time and I've never seen individually hammered holes.
There's one guy working away at a skiver, just making sure he thins out the edges of the patterns that need to be sewn.
See guys, this is just kind of like giving a small cut over where it's going to be sewn together. Just kind of thinning the sewn part of the leather.
They're then glued and sewn together.
And then perhaps like the second to last step or one of the final steps, you've got these finished lasts completely glued and sewn together, but no sole just yet.
Finally, they will have the soles attached, kind of pasted on top of this last.
Once the shoes are popped out, this guy behind me is giving that final coat of polish or of sheen. Either way, I can taste it like right away. There ain't that much ventilation in this place, and it's basically just like spray painting the shoes open air. Kind of wild. This is going to be doing some damage to my lungs, kind of feeling.
Ready for the showrooms, both overseas and that line the streets of the leather slum.
Okay, and the very last step in this factory is just like essentially sorting through all of this waste leather, which counterintuitively is like the first step of the glue that you've hopefully seen at some point in this video, because that becomes the fuel for the leather itself that's getting kind of boiled down into glues. All right, so I picked up a pair of these shoes. It was 2,000. That's like the cheapest pair of shoes I've ever got, and I'm pretty sure I got ripped off. But anyway, there you go.
Yeah, juta দেন ওনাকে